Alright, so P3-30 has another scale 2 to 1. That really doesn't affect us. We're in millimeters. Probably the consideration here is this 16 millimeters and going to really a virtual sharp where this would come down, it would be at the quadrant. And because that's at the angle, we're going to need to draw in that face, but we also need a direction of the cut, because normal 2, when we sketch on this face and go normal 2, the sketches want to go kind of backwards at an angle. All right, so the 30-degree angle, this would come back at 60 off of the base. So that being the case, I'm going to need some form of geometry that will allow me to say, no, I want to override that and go in a vertical direction. So other than that, our geometry is pretty straightforward. We'll go to a new millimeter sketch, our part, and then we'll get into a sketch on the top plane and jump into the circle. Alright, and since I missed, I'm able to move around. I'm just going to drag that over to the origin. We'll set our dimension, and that is 58. Alright, so what I would like to do, or I like to be able to do, is just draw the rectangle in here, but that 16 coming off of the face and showing in a linear on the angled face is going to require additional geometry, or a little bit of trig that I would rather stay with their numbers and reproduce than try to do a calculation above and beyond. Alright, so 60 millimeters. We need to make the cut. So on the front plane, we'll open up a sketch, a line, and just like the previous, even though this is technically a circle, the projection into the plane will end up being a line. So I can pick that edge and bring it down to where it finds coincident. And let's see if it is showing coincident. So depending on what we're asking to do, alright, so there's a selection that gives me the silhouette edge. And depending on what I'm trying to do, so if I wanted to convert this edge into the sketch, then I want to pick for the silhouette edge. Since this is linear, we're not going to get a silhouette edge. We would just find it. Let's rotate over a little bit. And if I come back, you can kind of see where that's intersecting at. Alright, so where the cylinder passes through the plane, and don't know if I'll be able to pick it through the part over here, but there'll be another silhouette edge over here. I would be able to convert those. So let's go ahead and do that. We can leave this open as a through all both, an open profile. If I pick the edge and convert entities, remember that convert entities, the endpoints are defined, but more so they're movable. Right? Until I apply that relation, now that this, I have the little blue dot, now that that's coincident, it won't move off that edge, but up until that point, it would have moved just like the lower point. Now when I put my dimension on, 30 degrees, and we need another from 12 off the center, so from normal, we'll try to find something along the top edge. Since that's not working, I'll go from the origin. I could also put in a center line, and in this case the center line would actually help me a little later on when we get to that notch. So I think I do want to go ahead and put in a center line, but we could just dimension off, and then we would have to make other arrangements for our notch. Alright, so basically what this is going to do when I get to the notch geometry is give me a direction for the cut. And then this will be through all both. We go ahead and accept. Alright, so I want to show that sketch. So we can expand out and right click, and the eyeball will show the sketch, and it is there somewhere, but gray on gray it's kind of hard to see, but there is the center line that I created. Alright, so opening a sketch on the face, and I can see a little bit easier, and let's say we'll go with just the corner rectangle. Alright, and then I can find that point where we can go tangent. Would like to be at the midpoint, but because those, I'll rotate over, see if it'll let me have that point, because this point may be the selection point. There we go. Have to make sure it's picking. Sometimes if it's not in the plane, that projection for this point would actually be back here somewhere. Alright, so we're going to set that as a midpoint. I need a dimension. So we have 16 millimeters on height and 16 millimeters on the width. I could make those equal, but I don't know that that's always going to be the case. Alright, so we might want to make an adjustment and have those separate. Otherwise, I would add the relation. Going into the feature then, and we do the extrude cut. So there's the normal to the sketch, and we occasionally will use the direction of extrusion, and now that center line gives me something to work with. And nope, that wasn't what I was looking for, so still through all. Since this is not being very visible, I'm going to go ahead up to the view and display style, and we'll go to hidden lines visible and pick our geometry, and now the through all shows that it kind of terminates at the base and then extends in the same angle. Alright, so through all, direction, and we're utilizing that center line. So if I didn't create the center line in this sketch, I would have to either have a separate sketch or find something that would act as the direction, such as an axis, temporary axis. Alright, so it gives me my shape. I can go back and hide the sketch. Another way of hiding the sketch is to expand out and then pick on that icon so that the sketch is put back into the background. Alright, we'll switch back to the shaded view, and then on top we have a diameter of 7, 20 deep. So we'll just go ahead and draw in the circle. Alright, so there was that little flash of blue. So I am in line. I saw the inference line, and I did not get a horizontal relation, so I'm going to have to go back and apply it. So control selecting the origin, I picked the center point to see what relation, if any, was applied, and since there wasn't anything over in the other property manager, but since there wasn't anything in there, I'm going to hold down the control button, select the origin, come over to horizontal, and then we can jump right into the dimension, pick the 9 millimeters, and then we're ready to cut. Alright, so the thing to keep in mind is because I'm doing this as a cut extrude, the bottom of the hole, it will be flat bottom. If we want to call that out with a drill point, we really need to use the hole wizard because it will automatically include that geometry. So that finishes up the other part. If you don't have the shaded with edges up on your heads-up display, we can add that by going into the customize, right-clicking in the gray areas, going to the commands, down to view, and any of these that you would use if we wanted to switch hidden lines visible to hidden lines or to shaded, I would just drag that out and add it to the mix. So we can do those on the fly, and this will stay modal on this computer from session to session. So we're ready to save. Go on to the next one.